Chapter 2219 Liu Karen vs. Wood 2. Drone technology is not something rare. They also have bird-type drones for suicide attacks. So Wood was not too surprised, but he just secretly became more vigilant. Quack. The crows gathered and circled in the sky, quickly turning into an extremely huge circular crow formation. The scene looked extremely strange. The soldiers of the Wulwan Empire immediately raised their weapons to the sky and began shooting crazily. The sight locked onto the crows one by one, then turned on the automatic tracking function and began to fire laser bullets. In just a moment, thousands of crows suddenly scattered, and then swooped down like black arrows and rushed towards the army where Wood was. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The laser turned into rain flowing upstream, locking onto the position of each crow. But at this moment, chaotic data streams were flashing in the eyes of these crows. In their eyes, they also locked onto every lizardman soldier and the path of the laser weapons they fired. Their movements seemed extremely fast, but when those laser weapons were about to shoot them, their bodies instantly changed position, and their speed increased by more than double. The dense laser barrage missed, and not a single bullet hit them. But the crows fell even faster. The distance between the two sides was soon less than 1,000 meters, and at this moment, the crows also launched their attack. They formed a very strange formation in the sky, which looked like a circular QR code. Then, powerful energy beam attacks burst out from their dark eyes and headed straight for the military formation on the ground. The attacks of the lizardmen soldiers looked as ridiculous as children's tactics compared to the attacks of the crows. The crows' attacks were even faster and more powerful. Thousands of attacks merged together, transforming into a terrifying rain of lasers that suddenly fell. The energy level was so terrifying that even Wood in the army couldn't help but dilate his pupils. These are certainly no ordinary drones. They are not the mechanical life forms of the Tsongyuan clan. Instead, Liu Karen integrated the science and technology of the Tsongyuan clan and humans and combined her best technologies to create a mechanical army that is unique to her. They are all made of the latest type of E-metal, a material second only to Zhang Yi's demon armor. The strength of the machine and the destructive power of its weapons are more than 3 times that of those armed mechanical life forms. It also has the advantages of small size, fast flying speed, and multiple functions such as diving and submerging underground. At this moment, they are the extension of Liu Karen's ears, eyes, and limbs. Even on the battlefield, they are more destructive than snowy owls. Boom! It was not until the dense rain of lasers fell into the army formation, instantly turning thousands of lizardmen soldiers and a large number of mechanical war beasts into ashes, that they realized how terrifying these seemingly small crow-type fighters were. Aha! Shoot! Shoot down all those strange birds in the sky. Armed spacecraft, drones, shoot them down. On the side of the Wulwan Empire army, the soldiers realized that something was wrong and immediately mobilized a large number of troops to deal with them. However, due to the absolute gap in technological levels, their struggles were of no use at all. The speed of the weapon could not keep up with the speed of the crows, and it could only fall into the air. The lack of computing power also allows the crows to predict their attack trajectory in advance. A large number of drones and combat spacecraft took off, trying to use air combat to deal with the crows. But the speed gap is too big. Those chaotic laser weapons formed a dense net in the sky, but every crow in the flock could nimbly and leisurely slip through the gaps in the laser network. It's a mechanical war on a completely different level. At this moment, the army of the Wulwan Empire truly realized what an advanced civilization they were facing. It turns out that in the face of the gap in civilization levels, the various technological weapons and armies that they are proud of are not worth even a glance. Quack. The crows let out sharp cries, and sound waves swept downwards. The sounds reached the ears of the soldiers of the Wulwan Empire, immediately making their brains buzz. This is an attack by sonic weapons that can penetrate the body directly, attack the internal organs, and interfere with the brain's thinking ability. The crows intervened in the war, causing the situation on the battlefield to begin to tilt towards the human coalition forces. Moreover, although the Mechanical Legion and the Huashu National Coalition forces lost the cover of the super-large mechanical life forms, they were able to take the opportunity to charge into the battlefield. Even the super-large mechanical life form that collapsed in the distance and could not move for a short time was sparing no effort in pouring out its firepower, using its hundreds of giant energy main cannons to bombard the army formation of the Wulwan Empire. Wood's eyes turned secretive. These crows are very strong. If we are at a huge disadvantage in terms of technology and military strength, then the only way to save the situation now is to rely on high-level mutants. Wood took a deep breath, aimed at the flock of crows in the sky, and suddenly opened his mouth and spit out two characters. Broken. Two huge black characters rushed out of his mouth and turned into the size of mountains and soared into the sky. The power of rules is manifested and cannot be avoided. It is almost a certain outcome. The characters swept across and slammed heavily into the huge flock of crows. In an instant, hundreds of crows were hit by the characters, and their bodies were twisted and deformed in an instant. But this time, Wood's expression also changed. There was a buzzing sound in his brain, as if an electric current flowed from the left brain to the right brain, and then from the right brain to the left brain, and so on, over and over again. His head felt like it was being torn apart. What are these things? Wood covered his head, trying to suppress the pain, and looked up at the sky in astonishment. The power of the word spirit, when it comes into contact with matter with excessively high material properties and attempts to change its form of existence in the material world, may backfire on itself. Those crows that look like drones are definitely not simple. Above the sky, behind the command center, Liu Karen was sitting in the command room and noticed that more than 200 crows had lost control. However, she was not angry, but instead a cunning smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Liu Karen casually took out a piece of chocolate from his pocket and put it in his mouth. This mechanical flying crow is made of e-metal and my Liu Karen's most sophisticated technology. It's not easy to destroy this kind of fighting machine. Chapter 22:20 Liu Karen vs. Wood 3. E-metal is arguably the strongest metal that humans can currently create. Not to mention its toughness, its strength alone is 100 times greater than that of diamond. Wood destroyed more than 200 mechanical crows in one breath, which was obviously not easy to do, and consumed a lot of his energy. Liu Qian did not let go of Wood's weak state. On this battlefield, the more than 3,000 mechanical flying crows are her eyes and ears, and nothing can escape her eyes. Her hands quickly operated on the console, and then a large number of mechanical crows swooped down with a cawing sound. Their eyes and mouths are equipped with powerful laser weapon launchers, which bombard the area where Wood is. The mechanical flying crows had a clear division of labor, and the other two troops rushed straight towards Wood's army from the left and right flanks to attack his main body. Wood covered his head, but had not yet completely lost consciousness. But now he also understood that these crows could no longer be dealt with using ordinary methods. He raised a hand to the sky. Guard. The characters soared into the sky and turned into an enormous black wall as big as a mountain.
Boom, boom, boom.
The laser weapon bombarded the city wall, quickly blasting it into pieces, but ultimately failed to hit Wood's body. Soon, however, Wood could no longer remain calm, because from both sides of the battlefield, a large number of crows attacked like the black god of death. Their bodies turned into black arrows in the strong wind. Their extremely fast speed made the air explode, and the storm was caused by them. All the soldiers and mechanical war beasts of the Wulwan Empire who tried to stop them along the way were cut into pieces like puppets made of sand. No matter whether it was flesh and blood or a mechanical body, it would be smashed to pieces when it touched the sharp beak of the mechanical crow. Compared to metal, flesh and steel are like tofu and have no hardness at all. Puff, puff. Puff, puff. The sounds of lizardmen's flesh and blood exploding and mechanical war beasts exploding continued to ring out, with flesh and blood flying everywhere and mechanical fragments dancing wildly. They couldn't stop the mechanical flying crows for a moment and could only watch with screams as two mechanical crows attacked Wood from the left and right. A sense of crisis instantly enveloped Wood. He realized that the other party was already well aware of his abilities. After all, he had been fighting for so long that he didn't even know where his opponent was. How to defeat the opponent in this kind of battle? Destroy thousands of terrifyingly powerful mechanical crows? If that were the case, he would probably be the first to be killed by the backlash of his own abilities. At the critical moment of his life and death, Wood shouted 2 words: protect. Fu Wenhua built a huge hemispherical fortress, covering his body tightly. Boom, boom, boom. The crows crashed directly into the fortress, without any hesitation. Soon huge cracks appeared in the fortress, and then it was shattered. Wood's figure had disappeared. Lu Karen frowned slightly. Through the perspective of the crows, she saw a dark hole appearing in the ground. Run away. Wood realized that something was wrong, and that he could not continue to fight with the crows. He first got himself out of the passive and dangerous situation, and then thought about the strategy to deal with the enemy. He dived underground, alarm bells ringing in his heart. Not long after, he also received warnings from other silver-armored generals and learned the whole story. He felt heavy-hearted. This is how battles between extraordinary people work. Once their abilities are exposed, they will be at a huge disadvantage. It is even very likely that he will be killed by someone whose ability index is much lower than his own. What's more, now he has no idea who his enemy is. Is she hiding among the crows, or controlling them from afar? Where is her position? Wood closed his eyes and walked under the ground of the battlefield, recalling the place in the entire battlefield where the person who controlled the crows was most likely to be hiding. Finally, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he thought of the most likely hiding place. It's that super-large mechanical life form. She doesn't dare to show up and fight me, which means her true form isn't strong enough. What I need to do now is find her true form and then eliminate it. Wood, who possesses the ability of word spirit, can indeed achieve this level. Even when facing an enemy with a higher ability index than him, he can still accomplish an attack by defeating the enemy even at the cost of his own life. As long as the opponent is not an alien with extremely strong physical strength, he is confident that he can strangle him into mincemeat. Wood immediately thought of a battle plan and then sneaked towards the direction of the super-large mechanical life form. Lu Karen had a lollipop in her mouth and was not at all worried about Wood's escape. If a black chariot-level mutant is determined to escape, it is indeed difficult to kill him. However, they already had a countermeasure. This is the land of the lizard men. Escape? Where can you escape to? Don't you even want a home anymore? Lu Karen was not polite at all. He commanded the mechanical army and the Huashu Kingdom coalition forces to launch a fierce attack. The flock of crows was like a group of unmanned aerial vehicles, swooping down from the sky like a sharp arrow, instantly tearing apart the entire military formation of the Wulwan Empire. It only takes thousands of mechanical flying crows to turn the tens of thousands of Wulwan Empire troops and the defense line composed of mechanical war beasts into useless pieces, unstoppable in an instant. This is simply a satisfying dimensionality reduction attack. Wood kept hearing reports of the tense battle situation, but he couldn't go over to help. He could only speed up and move towards the super-large mechanical life form. Soon, he reached the area he wanted to reach. Puff! A small hole appeared in the ground, and Wood crawled out. As long as you look up, you can see the huge and spectacular super-large mechanical life form made of complex mechanical technology. He raised his head and opened his mouth. Rotten, ruined, exploded, shattered. He uttered 8 words in one breath, and he was betting everything he had on this attack. Sure enough, as the 8 characters soared into the sky and landed on the super-large mechanical life form, the mechanical behemoth that was still pouring fire into the distance suddenly stopped its attack. Then, with a loud boom, various mechanical parts rusted and shattered, and the main body exploded with a boom. Flames shot up into the sky, limbs were broken, and the main body burned and turned into a huge fireball that smashed towards the ground. A glint of joy flashed in Wood's eyes. As long as the person who controlled the mechanical crows was eliminated, the crisis would be completely resolved. with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.